Köszöntöm Önöket, titeket a Budapesti Nemzetközi Dokumentumfilmfesztiválon. Megyes Krisztina vagyok, én leszek a beszélgetés moderátora. Most az Örök, árnyék című dokumentumfilm rendezőjével, Mehrdad Oskoueival beszélgetek. Mehrdad, hi, and warm welcome at least in this online space into the festival. How are you doing? Where are you at the moment?
Thank you so much for inviting my film, and this is my second time participating in your prestigious documentary film festival, and I'm very happy for screening my film for the very, very great and kind audience in Budapest.
You finished the film in 2019. But tell me, when did you start it? Because I know it was a very long journey until you got to the point to screen it in festivals.
Yeah, this is my first film about rehabilitation center, and first one I made it in 2006. And I participating in different festivals. It was about boys in rehabilitation center in special wing, boys under 15 years old. The title was It's Always Late for Freedom. After that, for this film, I was waiting more than 6 months for get a permission. And the second film, after 4 years, I was waiting more than 4 years for getting permission for shooting my second film. It was the same subject, boys under 15 years old in rehabilitation center. And between these two films, I find a new subject about girls. My previous film, Starless Dreams, I find a subject about girls in a corner of the boys section with a very tall walls around them. And one day I saw two girls with handcraft and handcuff, and I asked, who is these two girls? And one of the soldiers told me, these two girls, they are going to girls section in the corner of the prison. In that time, I decided to make a film about them. And after 7 years, finally, I got the permission for shooting about the girls in the rehabilitation center. And I just screened this film in Starless Dreams in the Budapest Film Festival, I think 3 years ago. And finally, in that time, I found a subject about murdering and about the girls and their mothers. With the assistance of their mothers, they killed their fathers. And in that time, I think by myself, it's a very, very good idea for a very good story for telling to my audience. And in that time, I tried to research about the topic. And after 6 months, I got the permission for shooting this film. And I tried to find a different way for storytelling for the soundless shadows. And for me, it's very important give more space to my characters for talking with their mothers in the room without any of my crew, and they push the button and talk with the mother in front of the camera and push the button in the end. And it's like a widow messenger. And in that time, I think this is a very good idea for finding a different structure for storytelling.
It seems like from your filmography that you're really drawn into this subject matter. Young people in prison, young people in a very difficult life situation. What what raised your awareness, or why are you so interested in that specific topic? Do you know where and why it started?
Yeah, because for two reasons. Because my grandfather, about 100 years ago, and my father more than 50 years ago, they were prisoners for political reasons. And all of the time in my childhood, I thinking about prisoners and prison. And the other reason, when I was 15 years old, my father 3 times had bankrupt. And when I was 15, I decided to commit suicide because we were very poor in that time. We don't have anything. And I have 2 more sisters and 1 brother. And I think by myself in that time, if I kill myself, it's very better situation for them. And young adults, children, and prisoners comes from these 2 reasons. And in the year of 2006, I decided to make a film in a rehabilitation center because it's my subject, my characters. They are children under 15 years old, same age of me in that time, and about everything about them in the prison, about in the rehabilitation center. Comes from my childhood. I had a very bad time in that time because we don't have anything. It's very difficult time for me and for my families. I was thinking it's the same situation I have. Maybe I try to do something for as a thief and maybe hurt somebody in that time. Many ways I think by myself, but I decided to kill myself. Just this is my final decision, but I survived, and after that I decided to give voice to voiceless people. After when I committed suicide, I tried to commit suicide. After that, it's a big decision for me. I try to give voice to voiceless people. This is my mission, very important mission in my whole life.
That is, maybe that's why, because you have this very strong personal experience on the subject, but it's very obvious, even just by watching the film, that you can get in a very close relationship with the girls, and then they can be very intimate and relaxed in your presence, which is, I was thinking, so strange in a way, because they are the girls who are afraid of men, who've been hurt by men, who've been, who hate man in some ways. And still you're there with them in their private space, and they let you in and they accept your being. How was this collaboration? How was the beginning? How easy was to gain their trust? What was your strategy to make them relaxed with your presence?
It's about trust. Everything about trust. When I want to make a film in the beginning, I said to them, to my characters, everything about myself, about my love, about my childhood, about my committed suicide when I was 15. In that time, after that, they know everything about myself. And I said to them, if you have any question, please ask me. Any question about myself. After that, I told them, if you agree, we can start a journey in the inside of both sides. you and me together. We can trust each other. And step by step, we try to go very deep inside. For this reason, they trust me, and I told them all of my films about children, young adults, and about women, especially about girls and women, about unheard characters, voiceless girls, voiceless women, and untold story about them. Very, very clear, I explained to them. And I told them about my mission. I told them about my past, everything. After that, they trust me and start our trip to their stories, their mind, their dreams, chaos, everything.
As someone who knows very little about the Iranian system, I have, of course, general knowledge, but I was not aware how a juvenile prison or detention center would look like in Iran. I was honestly very much surprised how free it looks like for them. The fact that they can have the ducklings and they can raise the baby, they can study, go out to the university, or visitors can come in. This is something that I would not have guessed, because I've seen Hungarian juvenile prisons and that was really pretty much like a prison, and that was in my head before. And on the other hand, we have this very, very strict policy with the death ray, which is also another way of unimaginable. So there is another thing that we cannot imagine in Hungary. How is this system seems very dual to me? You know, like seems very open for the girls and very strict for the mothers, and would like to know
yes,
more.
In women prison and men prison, absolutely different with rehabilitation center. Rehabilitation center is like educational center, but with bars and walls. I know about that, but it's not prison. It's they try give more space to them, like a family, especially in girls section. Girls section, all the time when I talk with the social workers, they told me these are our children, like our children, and we think, they told me, we think if we make a very friendly atmosphere, we can help them, and they help each other, girls and rehabilitation, girls and social workers. They talk to them very, very friendly, and but absolutely different in women prison and in men prisons, like very strict rules and very law is very important, and they have very different space for more than 40 women, 30 women in the very big prison. But in the girls, but about the girls in rehabilitation center, absolutely different. They can studying in university. They have different classes in the rehabilitation center, and they have different teachers in different courses, and in arts and educational course, different things they have. They have pool, very, very big pool in the rehabilitation center. And if you want to go there, just now, this is like everything. This is like the film. It's not very different with the film. But in women prison, it's very, very difficult for shooting, for permission, for everything. But they trust me. They gave them permission. Just 3 days we shot in the women prison, and 17 days in a rehabilitation center. We have time for shooting.
If we look at the system, can you just tell us a bit more how the juridical system works? Because what we learn from the film, that there is the judge who make a decision, but then at the end of the day, it seems like the family has its final saying about the actual charge or the actual, decision. How does it go?
About the girls, about mothers and their daughters. The daughters, if they assist to kill their fathers, they have to stay in rehabilitation center for more than 7, 8, or 10 years. But about the mothers, more than 8 years, more than 18 years, they have to go to a women prison, and they have to wait for execution. But if somebody killed family of the killed person, if they gave permission for example, release one mother, the mother have to pay blood money. This is our law. If they killed person family, they say if their family give permission for release her, they have to find a way for give blood money of the killed person. But about the girls, 8 years old, our law changed. Mm-hmm. They have to stay more than 7 to 10 years in rehabilitation center. But now very, very good news. All the girls are released. Wow. But one of them, it was very sad story. Committed suicide, and she died. But the other girls, all of them, they're released now, and 2 mothers.
2 mothers.
With my friends, 2 mothers released, but one of the mother, she's in prison now, and she's waiting for execution. But all of social worker and women NGOs and me and my crew, all of us, we try to find a way for release her too. All together try to release her. For example, 1 month ago, all together we fight very hard for a mother, Somaya's mother, and now she released. And 2 weeks ago, we rent a very beautiful small house for her and Somaya and her family in Tehran. Mm. And she's living with her daughter in a house, and she's very, very happy now. But we have the last step for us. We try to release the one mother. Just she is in a women prison now.
That's actually very good news that you say 2 mothers are already outside, because at the end of the film, when I see Negar saying, "Hi, Mom," I got scared that maybe it's because her mom passed away, and that's why she talks to her, because that's like sometimes this way, sometimes to the mothers, they're aiming the monologues, and I was like, oh no, please don't. Yeah. But then it's not.
Negar mother's Negar, her mother and her sister, all of them released, and they are outside of the prison. All of them, they have job, and they're they are working and earning money. Everything is good for them.
I was wondering that how was the reception of the film in Iran, and how was the reception of the film by male audience, if you have experience on that? Because I think that must be very different, female and male, in Iran or outside of Iran, how people react to your film.
And for my previous film, I screened in Budapest International Documentary Film Festival. After I made it 2016, and 2017 I judge. They have give me some papers, and they said you have to go in jail. And for more than 2 years, I fight for this. How can I say? This statement. This sentence,
yeah.
But 1 month ago, they said I asked an appeal, and 1 month ago they said, okay, you can. They give me permission for everything solved. But more than 2 years, I was waiting all the time for going to jail, for one year jail sentence I had. And because I screened this film in different university and festivals in Iran, for this reason they wanted to put me in jail. But now it's everything. It's good. But for this reason, I couldn't show my last film, Sun Shadows, in Iran. But for my previous film, I can tell you, it was shocked for people, men and women in Iran. And after screening in Iran, many people, men and women, especially in NGOs, they try to help the girls in rehabilitation center. And many, especially women, they give very good help to them, and they teach them. They try to find a way for prepare blood money for the women, for the girls, and for the releasing them from the rehabilitation center and women prison all the time. And I have to say thank you to the women NGOs in Iran, because they every day they fight very hard for the women's rights, and they try to every day they try to find more and more way for pushing with their shoulder, pushing their love for finding way for helping to the women and girls in Iranian rehabilitation center and prison.
That is so challenging to understand that at the same time you get the official permission to shoot in this center and the prison, but you cannot screen the film, so they are aware of the film that it's going to be
very,
done.
Complicated. Yeah, it's very complicated because we have two sections. Some part they trust me and my films because they believe my film can change it little bit, can change to low for the better life for people like my characters. And the other hand, the people, they don't believe my films, and they want to fight with me and my films. They try to put me in jail, but the other hand, somebody believe my films. This part supports my idea. They gave me permission for films, and they believe my films can change a little bit, can change the atmosphere. They can they told me, we believe you, we believe your film, but the same time, we gave you permission, we can't put you in jail. You have to ready for everything. And I believe my mission, I believe my films, because I make the films with my heart, not with my mind. And I know it's very difficult making film making film about this topic in Iran, but I believe somebody wants to help me for making this film. Somebody believe my films, and somebody try to give permission for changing something for my people. And this is not, this subject, this character, not just in my country or Middle East. I think in different countries, like Japan, they invited me to a rehabilitation center around Tokyo. And we talked about different things in the rehabilitation center in Tokyo, girls section. And they told about their activities, about the girls in Japan and in Poland, in Canada, and different countries. I think this is the same story in rehabilitation center around the world. But in my film, it's a very different cultural background. The girls in rehabilitation center in Tehran, they have to wear a scarf and something's different, but the stories, I think, it's the same.
Do you know the scene that I really find it interesting, when the girls are arguing to one another, when they sit on the floor and they are arguing, and then in that conversation you can feel that even the girls are accusing each other of being, you know, that it's the women's fault, the husband should do this and then the wife should do that. And for me that was very hard to listen, because you believe that they think differently than the rest of the society, yet they are using the same arguments.
This scene is very important for me. They are arguing, but after that, they support each other, because they don't have anybody for supporting them. All the time, sometimes they're fighting with the words, different idea they have and different experience. But after discussion and after very, very difficult moments, after that they support each other very, very warmly, and it's very interesting for me, because at the same time they fight each other, after that they support each other, and this is their situation, this is their role of the living. I think for me, they are very kind, and all the time they give us some bananas, apples, everything they have. It's very small things, but they gave us everything because they wanted, you know, in their inside of them they are mother. All of them, they are mothers. They take care of us. All of my crew, they are men, but all the time they take care and they gave something to us, and very, very kind. And in that time, I asked myself why they did some crime. Why? Because I can see them. They are very kind, very pretty, very like my daughter. You know, I have a daughter. She's 23 years old. 5 years ago, I made my previous film, the same age of my girls they were. But They are very genius, very pretty, very kind. You can believe them. You can. They can support you as a character all the time. They trust you. This is very important. In their situation, they have very, very bad experience in their life. But as a man, they trust you because if they believe somebody, they can trust. This is very, very important for me. And I think the last days of shooting, all the time, my crew and the girls, all the girls, they are crying. They was crying. All the time they were crying because they gave us letters and something they wrote about. And I believe the human being is very important. If all the time I told my people in Iran, the reason of their crime, if they are in the prison, it's because of us, not about them. All the things it's about are us.
I think the most beautiful thing about the film that I was not seeing murderers or killers for 1 second. I've seen human beings and I was empathizing with them, and it was so lovely to see joy and play and the nicer parts of their challenging lives, and I think you've done an amazing job to see these girls really to us, and of course also their mothers.
You know, because all the time it's news about Middle East, it's about war, about killing, about very, very bad side of the life, but it's not our real life. It's full of joyful, playing, laughing, everything. It's the life. We have the bad side of like Syria, but it's not everything about Syria. It's not everything about war, about everything. We have different side in people's life. The same time they can kill somebody, same time you can see in the film. I really want to show everything about the girls and their mothers in their situation. Sad time and happy time too.
Mehrdad, thank you so much for the conversation and thank you so much for the film. It was really lovely to talk to you today. Köszönöm a figyelmüket. Hogyha látták már a filmet, akkor remélhetőleg nagyon sok izgalmas és érdekes háttérinformációt tudtak most meg a rendezőtől. Ha még esetleg nem látták, akkor pedig reméljük, hogy felkeltettük az érdeklődésüket. A film, illetve a beszélgetés is elérhető a BIDF honlapján március 10-ig. Viszontlátásra!